Hey, what is up guys, I'm Exteria, and in this video, we're going to be talking about the best comps you can climb with in day 1 of patch 15.3. Obviously, the meta will change over time, but these are the best comps we can play currently just to gain LP for now. Until then, I'll make a meta video later, but this is just what we know for now. Getting right into it, there's 2 different playstyles you can do for this comp. This one is the reroll variation of basically playing Mentor Mech. If you guys remember, back in PvE, and at the beginning of the set, this used to be the strongest comp to play, but now, it's a little bit different than it was before. For this version, we play with Senna reroll as our main carry, and same thing of Yasuo reroll as our secondary carry. Our main tank is most likely going to be Udyr. If not, it could be Kubuko. Either one is fine. And our AP item holder will be Rise. So essentially, to play this board, you want to hit level 7, and your board will look something like this without the Akali. Mainly because Akali is an 8th unit that you can have on the board. And you want to keep rolling at level 7 until you 3-star Senna. Then you can hit level 8 and then potentially finish off Yasuo later. If you get Yasuo first, it's fine, but if you don't level 3 Senna yet, stay 7 until you 3-star her later. And the question is, should you keep re-rolling Senna if you're getting contested? The answer to that is no, because you can play the other version, which is this style, of playing 2-star Yasuo and 2-star Senna, but the main carry here is going to be Ryze instead. So when you hit level 8, you can also play for Akali carry as a secondary carry and Senna as a third carry. There's a lot of potentials you can do with this comp, but let me first explain the reroll style first. And for the items on Senna, the best ones to put on her would be Shojin with Striker and then plus 180 items such as Giant Slayer, Deathblade. You can do IE, but I wouldn't recommend it because she's an Executioner, since Executioner is technically a built-in IE already. So therefore, there is no point to build IE on Senna. If not, you can do artifacts instead of Deathblade such as Collector, which is actually really good on her. Or you could do something like Sniper Focus, which is also okay to do as well. And then for Yasuo items, as long as you have Edge of Night on him, whatever other items you can find on him doesn't really matter. You can do IE Hodge, or you can do other items such as Sterax and Titans. You just mix and match. It really doesn't matter. The best fruit you could put on Senna is Stormbender. The reason why this fruit is really good on her, even though Stormbender does magic damage, is mainly due because she crits, and that crit could allow Stormbender to also technically crit. So this means that you're going to do a lot of damage with both Stormbender and the unit itself. Second to that would be like Shadow Clone, but they did nerf it, so I would say it's a little bit weaker, but still nice to have a +1 unit on the board. If not, you can also do over 9,000, which is also really great if you start with a Senna. This will give you lots of mana regen and lots of damage if you start off with Senna with this fruit. And other good, decent fruits here is if you don't have Shojin, Efficient is pretty decent, or better yet, Precision would be the best overall if you don't have Shojin because this gives you lots of mana. For Yasuo's fruit, Hemorrhage would be probably the best one just because, honestly, all fruits are not really that good on him. But this fruit allows him to execute the backline if he does jump to them, or it does a lot of damage to a tank that he jumps and it just lingers there for a bit. So other than that, you can pick up any other lifesteal ones like Final Boss, or you can do Crimson Veil, which is also okay. But for the most part, you would want Hemorrhage if you're going to play him as a secondary carry. Unless you want to do this trick, instead of putting fruit on Yasuo, you can also put Stormbender on Rise, so you can have Stormbender 2. So this makes the storm even bigger, so therefore, when Senna does lots of damage, the storm on the backline will hit the main carries or whatever it's hitting, and it'll potentially do lots of damage to them. So overall, having Stormbender will be fine as well. If Rise can have Archangel Staff on him, that would be nice. In order to get Stormbender 2, both Senna and Rise needs to have this fruit. I deleted the tab by accident, so we're just going to show this version of the board instead, but just memorize it as 3-star Senna and 3-star Yasuo. But yeah, when you hit level 8, you just throw in Akali, or you can throw in Lee Sin and turn him into Executioner. Or when you hit level 9, you can throw him out as well and turn him into Executioner and just throw Aatrox in the back because he's kind of useless. And this will be basically your board capped out at level 9 as well. So that's basically about it for the Senna reroll. If you want to play for Rise carry instead, that means these units will be 2-star, and it's basically the same result. But the difference is the fruit that you get on Rise. So the same reasoning with Stormbender on Senna. If you don't have Senna with good items, then don't play Stormbender at all. Just play for Icebender instead, and this would allow Rise to do lots of damage. If you cannot find Icebender, other fruits like Annihilation is okay, or Stormbender is technically okay, or Efficient. But I would say either Annihilation or Stormbender would be second best, and then Icebender is the first best. For the Rise version of the board, the second unit you want to fruit, it just depends on what you have at the time currently. Say for example, you have a Kali with Archangel Staff and Rageblade somehow, then you could just fruit her second, and you just look at the site right here to see like what's the best For example, it would be most likely Dark Amulet is okay, or you could do Crimson Veil or Mage. Either one is fine. It doesn't really matter, to be honest. But if a Kali's not level 2 with decent items, then you could just make Udyr the second fruit holder instead. So it just varies. Unless you have a level 2 Senna with decent items, then you can fruit her. For your opener for this comp, the best version would be to have Aatrox, Lucian, and GP, which is basically the Mech opener. And then from here, you just play your best board. So the concept here is you want to build with Shojin as your first item slam because it's really good on Lucian and is really good on Senna. If not, you can also build strikers. Technically, for either of these items, you can play either towards Rise carry or Senna carry. Either one is fine. It just depends on your game. If you see you and 2 other people are playing the same comp, then just pivot into Rise instead. Take lots of gold augments so you can make it to that point so you can roll down for your Rise 2 at level 8. Unless you have, for whatever reason, a Senna start, then you could just play Senna instead as a carry and hopefully get the fruit over 9,000. Then you just throw out a potential +1 executioner unit like this would be fine. And this will be board pretty much. Then you could just tempo all the way up to level 7 and just reroll for Senna. Unless, same thing again like I said earlier, if you're contested, you might as well play for the Rise carry instead. Totally up to you, whichever one you want to do. Now onto everyone's favorite comp with the Lulu monster stuff. It's not going to be Smolder. They actually nerfed in this patch, so therefore you want to play towards Kog'Maw instead. And his best items is Shojin, Archangel Staff, +1. For example, it could be Winsu's Rage Blade, or it could be another Archangel Staff. But technically you want to play it from an artifact perspective. So any of the items such as Flicker Blades is really powerful on Kog'Maw, or Dawn Core is pretty good on him, or Static Shiv is pretty decent on him, since he actually scales with both attack speed and ability power. This really works well on him. Or better yet, Witsen is actually really good too. So basically those 4 artifacts would be the best on him. If you need a visual, just memorize those items. It will be these items here. So any of these 4 items would be best. If not, it's Gwinsu's Rage Blade. And this board is pretty simple. It's just literally all protector. There's really nothing else to it. And have at least one anti-heal on the board, which would be Raider Morello or Red Buff on Janna. If not, you put Sunfire in one of the tanks, it's fine. But don't build both. Have one or the other. It doesn't really stack. And you don't need Magic Resist Shred, mainly because Kog'Maw's kit already has it built in. So therefore, you don't need Voice Staff or Onyx Spark on the board. Other than that, that's basically about it. You just hit level 7, just reroll for Kog'Maw and reroll for Nico 3, and Nico's gonna be your main take. While Cassante, if you have extra 80 items left over, you can put 80 items on Cassante. That's okay. And then for your level 8 and 9 unit, technically it would be Zyra and Twisted Fate. Basically about it. There's really not much to it. Or it could be J4 as well, because you get extra CC with J4, and he's also a strategist with Janna. So you can use these 3 units as +1s. I just remembered, actually there is 4 units you can use. You can use also Rise, since he's also a strategist and a mentor, so he will give Kog'Maw more mana. Since Rise's mentor is every time you attack, you gain 2 more mana. So you can use one of these 4 units at level 8, and at level 9, you just also take one of these as well. The best fruits you can put on Kog'Maw, hands down, is actually Stormbender. I actually had a game where Kog'Maw's damage is actually so insanely high that Stormbender will basically one-shot the backline. So this is actually the best that you can put on him. If not, you can do something like Rare Treat, but this only shows up on stage 4. So if you get Kog'Maw late, like say for example you get Kog'Maw on stage 3, 7, which most likely you shouldn't be even playing Kog'Maw that late. You want to play Kog'Maw around stage 3, 2, or even earlier than that, so you can start leveling him up easier. But if you do get Rare Treat on stage 4, it's fine if he's not level 30 yet, or even close to it. If you start with a Kog'Maw early, Beastess Boys would be the best, so you can stack levels early on Kog'Maw, but best in slot would be Stormbender. And that's basically about it for this board. There's really no point showing the opener, since it's either start with Kog'Maw or somehow just pivot into it later with any AP board you can find. Next up we got is Star Guardian, and I feel like most of us don't know how to play this comp already, but just to refresh your brain a little bit, essentially you play Syndra with the specific fruit, which is Rising Chaos. This fruit is actually really insane on Syndra because this allows you just to win streak all of early game, and if you BIS her items, which is having Shojin and attack speed item or +1 Jewel Gauntlet, so you can have Shojin with Adaptive and Nashor's 2. As long as you can just keep casting frequently, it's fine. Or you can just do Jewel Gauntlet just for extra damage. Either one's okay. And the misconception for this comp is, I see a lot of people tell me that Syndra 3 is not strong enough. So funny enough, you actually don't need to play Syndra 3. You just play Syndra level 2 and you just tempo to level 8. I don't know where people got this idea from, where you have to 3-star Syndra when I showed this comp at the beginning. Because I said in the video to just 2-star her, it's fine. You don't need to 3-star her. But if you can, it's okay. But the reason why you don't want to 3-star Syndra and stay stuck low level around stage 4, you want the Star Guardian buffs. since Star Guardian Bus gives you a lot of stats. So for those of you that don't know, Ari gives you more mana regen, Jinx gives you more attack speed after a kill, Xayah gives you magic damage for every 3 autos, Syndra gives you ability power every time you cast, Nico gives you more bonus shield and health, if you do have those stuff, and Poppy heals if you're below a certain amount of health. Rel gives you lots of shield on the board. So that's the reason why you want to play for level 8 as fast as you can for this board, because they have lots of stats on the board. The secondary carry could be Jinx, or if you're not playing with Syndra carry early game, you can just easily play to Jinx carry instead, and she actually does a lot. The best thing about Jinx is you can play her like full damage with sword items such as IE, Deathblade, and Shojin, but in all honesty, I feel like she's actually better with Double Kraken and Gwynsu's Rageblade. It's kind of interesting because she actually does really good as an attack speed champion over a one-shot champion. This is just off of my own instinct, more of my own opinion than it is stats, but this could be the actual case itself, because I feel like I had more success playing Jinx this way than just playing her as a one-shot carry. And if you're playing for Jinx carry, you can also play a different style board, which I do sometimes, is if I have extra swords, then I just take out Ari and Nico, and I throw in Gnar to give extra damage to Jinx since you get Sniper. And another +1 frontline unit I can throw in here would be Volibear, because you get Luchador with both Gnar and Volibear, and you also get Edgelord with Xayah, so this board is actually pretty decent. And if you have extra swords like IE and Edge of Night, this is great for Volibear. So this board is not too bad. And then for your fruits, if you're playing for Syndra carry, Rising Chaos is best. If not, if you want a tempo, Shadow Clone would be good for that. The second fruit you want to put on no matter what is Poppy, and the best one is Unstoppable. I feel like you have to force this one, because if you don't have Unstoppable on Poppy, you don't have enough disruption in the fight to where it stalls for either Jinx carry or Syndra carry to keep casting their ability. So therefore having Unstoppable is like a must on Poppy. If you're not playing for Syndra carry, you can play for Jinx carry instead. And I would say Stormbender is actually really good on her, since she does lots of damage. This fruit actually allows you to do extra damage on top of that. If not, Hyperactive is actually pretty good too, since this allows you to gain a lot more mana back after the kill, since every time you auto with Jinx, she gains more mana back. I feel like Wrapping Rage is not too great, so this is kind of a bait. But yeah, it's either Hyperactive or Stormbender on Jinx. If not, Sky Piercer is pretty good overall as well, since you're playing mostly an AP board with Star Guardian, and Jinx is the only AD unit on the board. For your opener, it's simply just the Prodigy Bastion opener, and you can have Jinx items on Ezreal, and just put Syndra items with whatever items you want to put on her, and just maintain whichever one you hit level 2 here. So basically, you could just branch out playing more Star Guardians as your opener, or you can throw in +1 Academia, and best units you can throw in overall over time. It doesn't really matter what you do. Just keep winning until you hit level 8 to roll for your board. Next comp is Kai'Sa reroll, and I feel like most of us already know how to play this board already. But this version is the Rammus style, and the reason why you would want to play this is because the other version, which is the Mentor style, is kind of contested with the Senna players in the current meta. But if you're able to 3-star Kabuko, it's actually kind of worth it since you have a lot of CC with this board, since Yasuo can also CC, and Udyr gives you anti-heal. So therefore, you don't need Sunfire or Merlocon or Red Buff on Akali. But if you want to make it easier on yourself, the Rammus style is probably the easiest way to play it, because you 3-star at Kai'Sa at level 6, and then you hit level 7, throw in Akali, and you could just try to 3-star Rammus and potentially Darius. So this board is actually way easier to play. For your items, you always want to build Shojin on Kai'Sa no matter what with IE, and you can flex between Guardbreaker or Deathblade is fine. There is a bait of artifact, and that would be Collector is one of her worst artifact item hands down. The reason why is because Supreme Cell already executes and Gold Collector executes as well. So you're just wasting, technically, a feature that you already have. So there's no point to have this item. But there is a really good item on her, which is Fish and Bones. This item allows you to execute the backline sometimes, so you have a high chance to win rounds this way to cheese out the round. And if not, you can also build Red Buff. And the trick here is you can just put Red Buff into Akali later, so whatever items that you don't have on Akali, mostly you want Archangel Staff and Rage Blade on her, and you just throw in Red Buff and just build strikers or whatever you can on Kai'Sa as a third item. So that's a trick you can do if you don't have Sunfire Rammus. You just build whatever tank items you can on him and just hope for the best. The best routes to have on Kai'Sa is over 9,000, because this allows you to gain a lot of stacks of stats over time. If not, Bullet Hell would be second best. I always take Bullet Hell because I actually like the extra damage from her projectiles. since she shoots out a lot of missiles. If not, Stormbender is probably really good too. I've actually seen this fruit actually one-shot my backline again as well. I don't know what's up with Stormbender this patch, but it seems like it's really good currently. And the second unit you want to fruit is Rammus, and honestly, the monster fruits don't really matter. I say the best ones to put would be either resistant, so Rammus could be extra tanky, or you can do body change, so you can make either Darius, if he's your secondary carry, or Akali to last a little bit longer, so they could just keep casting their abilities. But yeah, other than that, there's not really much for this board. It's just play these units, and if you do hit level 8, for a good +1, you can throw in either Senna for Executioner or Akali, and at least you have some sort of backline, just in case. Or if not, you can do Lee Sin and turn him into Executioner, so you have Executioner as well. So this board is actually really good at level 8. For the Mentor version, you want to main tank your Kabuko, and for both styles of the board, if you have leftover 80 items, you can just throw it on Darius. It doesn't really matter. Who cares about him, to be honest. And Akali items, as long as you have Archangel Staff and Gusu's Rageblade, she's good to go. But essentially, this board is at level 6. You want to reroll for both Kaisa and Kabuko level 3. And then just hit fast 8 to play for the rest of the board. It is kind of tricky to play this board at level 6 because you can only play Kabuko. So that means you have to take out Udyr and Yasuo and Rise. And technically your level 6 board will be something like this, with KO to have that extra duelist on the board, and you throw in a Malphite or +1 protector. So you could just do this board at level 6 until you 3-star both Kaisa and potentially Kabuko. Unless you don't care about the 3 Supreme Cells, then you could just play with 4 heavyweights, so you have extra tank on the board, which would be something like this, because this also gives you Wraith on the board, but who cares about Wraith since you're not putting items on Zac or KO, so it doesn't really matter in my opinion. But it's up to you whichever one you want to do. Free fruits with this board, Kaisa is the same either way, it doesn't really matter. But for Kabuko, either Unstoppable, just so you can stall out the board so Kaisa can keep casting, since this will give you a lot of CC. If not, Resistant to make Kabuko last longer, so Kaisa can cast a lot more. So either one's fine with those two. And for the opener, it's not really much to say, it's just start with Kaisa and then play your best Kaisa board. That's basically about it. And then the last 2 comps here I'm gonna talk about, I'm not gonna really get into detail since we already know how to play these comps, since it's the same from last patch. But essentially, this one is the Prodigy Yuumi board, and the best in slot would be Jewel Gauntlet, Archangel Staff this time, not Striker anymore. You can still build it, but Archangel Staff is better since they nerf Yuumi's true damage by a little bit, so this Archangel Staff helps that a lot. And then Gunblade. Gunblade always. If you don't have Gunblade on Yuumi, your board will not last long enough for her to keep casting. And that's the tip I can give with this board. And the last board here, the Udyr Duelist board. Essentially, the most important things you need to find, no matter what, is Gargoyle Stoneplate with Titans on Udyr and have the Colossal Fruit on him. And just +1 tank item. It doesn't really matter. It could be Sterex, it could be Warmogs, it could be Sunfire, it could be Adaptive. It doesn't really matter. As long as you have Gargoyle Stoneplate and somewhat of a Titans is all you need, and you need Gusu's Rageblade and Kraken no matter what on Ashe, then you just play this board. It's pretty simple to play both of these boards. There's really no point for me to get into detail about it since I feel like we know how to play from last patch. And that's basically about it for all of the comfortable comps we can play in patch 15.3 in day 1. There is technically one more comp that is actually low-key and is up and rising, which is Xayah reroll, but I feel like we don't have enough data yet on day 1 to know how good it is, so I'll talk about it later in a meta video, up and coming, probably like within the next week. But yeah, if you have any questions about the comps that I just showed, or if you want to talk about other comps in the current patch, feel free to talk about that in the comment section down below. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.